All right, guys, welcome back. My name is Zia, and you are here for Crypto Polaris, and we're going to talk about all things Chainlink. This is going to be very exciting. Many of you may not have heard of Chainlink, so I'm going to take the time to explain a little bit how Chainlink is so important and the price prediction stuff. Guys, Chainlink is sitting at $20. I'm going to show you how it is going to be in hundreds and hundreds of dollars. The price prediction is all the way up to $9.90 by year 2030. And hopefully I'll be able to show you step by step why my reasons are. So I am super excited to talk about this. And again, welcome to Crypto Polaris. I am Zia, and let's talk about Chainlink, all right? So we have an agenda, guys, and the agenda is very simple. It's about showing you what the charts are, because a lot of you don't know what Chainlink is, but most of you have probably bought Chainlink. But I really want you to understand, my channel is all about wherever you put your money in, you need to understand why you put your money in, because inevitably cryptos go down. But if you understood the fundamentals and you actually invested because of the fundamentals, you will hold on to it because you do know that it is going to go up, because these are the reasons A, B, C, D. And that's what I'm going to try to do. All right. So with that in mind, and I'll walk you through all of that. What is Chainlink? What is it that they're trying to solve? Why do we even need them? And then where did this whole Chainlink start? These are the things I need you to understand. And before you really understand Chainlink, we are actually living partly in Web3. I'm going to explain to you what Web3 is. What is Web 1? What is 2.0? And what is Web 3? And what is the future? If you understood all of these things, you would do very well in terms of your investment, all right? And then I'm really going to dive into what does it mean to say less trust and more truth. This is really at the core of blockchain. This is the reason why Bitcoin was created. Less trust and more truth. This was actually written by and coined by, I should say, by Gavin Wood, who was the creator of Ethereum and also the creator of Polkadot. All right. After that, we're going to get into how is it trying to solve the problem. If you understood all these things that I'm going to talk about, what is the problem and how they're solving it, I think you would be a good believer in the fundamentals of Chainlink. All right. And of course, last but not least, I've got a very detailed price prediction that you guys want to see. So without further ado, let's get started here. We've got Chainlink as of yesterday. It was priced around $18.34. It's been running up quite a bit. It's nowhere near its all-time high, by the way. All-time high was in the 50s and 60s a few years back, but it is slowly going up. Now, real quickly, Chainlink has a token called Link, L-I-N-K. On the lower left-hand side, originally, Link was built on top of, it still is, but I'm going to talk about how it works with every single blockchains out there. That is one of the most fundamental reasons why you may consider investing into Chainlink, and the token is Link. By the way, not a financial advice, just trying to educate you here in terms of what Chainlink is, all right? Lower right-hand side, you can see the maximum supply. It can never be more than 1 billion tokens. So when they ICO'd back in 2015 or 2016, released only 300 million. And right now in the wild, there's close to 600 million, meaning in circulation. But in total, there is about 1 billion. These are important things to understand. And we'll dive into this more when we get to price prediction. All right? So let's get started here. By definition, what is Chainlink? Well, if you Google it, it will say Chainlink is a decentralized Oracle network. Well, what the heck is Oracle? And I'm going to walk you through all of that. Okay, Oracle, you can think of it as a database. And Oracle, you can think of it as, from the movie Matrix and all of that, all knowing the truth, the holder of truth. And that's really at the heart of, and you need to understand, the Chainlink actually set out to become know-all, the ultimate truth, data providers to all the blockchains. That's how I explain it, okay? That's what it is. Chainlink is an oracle for all the blockchains. And if you look in the bottom and on the right-hand side, you've got all the different kinds of blockchain, be it Bitcoin, be it Ethereum, be it any blockchain. The blockchains are very good about writing the value of whatever you're writing, say a dollar or fiat or USD, and the balance of that and how much it should deduct. That's what blockchain is very good at, storing the value of the resource. But what it's not good at is it doesn't know all the information in the real world. And that's why it's disconnected. If you can see on the left-hand side, the globe, what is the value of stock market? And how do I know that is the actual truth about the stock market value? What is the USD against pound? The market doesn't know anything about that. Yes, you can code and you can go to one central location and try to find it. But then again, you get into the problem of everything centralized. And how can you trust them? Is it true? Are you beginning to see that? Less trust, more truth. That's where we are trying to get to. So the left side and the right side, which are the blockchain, they are disconnected, and Chainlink connects them. So keep that in mind as I take you through that. Some of these charts and graphs are going to look complex, but don't forget what I'm trying to explain to you. We're taking all the blockchains through Chainlink. It is connecting it to the outside world, but not to one data source. So as an example, if I want to know what is the weather, do I just go to AccuWeather? That requires you to completely trust AccuWeather. Does that mean it's the truth? Well, Chainlink goes to multiple sources, and it's monetarily incented to provide you the right answer. All right, we're going to walk you through that. So the history of Chainlink, guys, it's in here. Take a look at it. I wanted to orient you, but it really got started back in 2014, where it launched. On the left side, you can see that. It took about 3 years for Sergey Nazarov, one of the co-founders, with Steve Ellis. They wrote the white paper behind it, and then they went ICO, which is like an IPO, and they raised $32 million to be able to launch this blockchain called Chainlink. And they launched it between 2018 and 2019. And right off the bat, they started doing all sorts of integration with Google. It was a great concept, innovative concept. Google saw the future in them and they invested in them, all right? In 2020, the whole DeFi boom happened, decentralized finance boom. So there are blockchains called Aave, Compound, and Kyber. They are all DeFi. You don't need a bank to borrow money. You don't need a bank to take a loan. You can go to these decentralized finance blockchains and actually take a loan out. And you don't have to get banks involved in all of that. Hardly any paperwork. You should go try it out. Decide for yourself. So Chainlink empowered and enabled this whole DeFi industry. There is no competition for Chainlink. There are tiny ones, just like Bitcoin, store of value, no number two. Same for Chainlink. There is no number two. Chainlink is it. When we talk about Ethereum, there is number 2, 3, number 4, like Solana, Cardano, Sui. There are more, okay? So let's move on. 2021, they really upgraded this with Chainlink version 2.0 that brought out more apps. But 2023 was really an important time. That is when Chainlink started to interconnect Bitcoin with Ethereum, Ethereum with Solana, Solana with Cardano. All of these blockchains, you can interact with them and they can also talk to each other through the mechanisms of Chainlink. Are you beginning to understand the name behind it? They link all these blockchains, not only provide the data, but they allow the data to move back and forth. CCIP is the one that is connecting everything behind the scene. And now where we are today is enterprise adoption, and I'm going to talk more about this. So let's keep going here. I'm taking my sweet old time, but trying to understand for myself and for you. So this slide is very important. So far, I've talked about this already, but I wanted to encapsulate this in one slide. Upper left-hand side is the problem. The blockchains don't connect to the outside world to get data, such as stock market data, such as weather data, such as betting data, such as insurance data, you name it. And the right-hand side is the Chainlink solution. See the right side? Those are all blockchains. Left side are all the data from so many different sources. And right in the middle, all that data, being sent to the right side of the blockchain. So the blockchain consume everything that Chainlink provides. A Chainlink ensures you don't need to trust anyone because the truth is being stamped by Chainlink. And there's a lot of mechanism, a lot of technology, a lot of monetary incentive that makes this happen. All right? There is no need for central authority. There is no need for one company to say, my data is good, you can trust me. I am Google, you can trust me. I am Amazon, you can trust me. I am Facebook, you can trust me. Enough said about that. So let's go to the next one. So what the heck is Web3? Well, in order for you to understand what Web3 is, you need to understand there are 4 components to Web3. In order for Web3 to mature, come to fruition, it really started with number 1, the blockchain. The invention of Bitcoin, which is blockchain, created other types of blockchain. So that was number 1. Number 2, cryptocurrencies were created. So Bitcoin is on top of the blockchain, right? So blockchain itself is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is part of a blockchain, okay? Because Ethereum is another blockchain. Solana is another blockchain. Cardano is another blockchain. Sui is another blockchain. All right? So let's keep going. Number 3 is smart contracts. All you need to know about smart contract is nothing more than programs that are written to run on the blockchain. And the programs go, if X is true, then execute Y. In this case, it could be if this person finished the job, release this amount of money. This is programmatically done. I don't need to have a contract piece of paper. Somebody in the escrow says, yes, you did it, because that someone can be bribed. That's human nature. So to avoid all of that, you put all of these things in a program. So imagine anything and everything we do, there is a middleman involved. There's a trust issue. You can put it through a smart contract, which is part of a blockchain. So Ethereum does smart contract. Solana does smart contract. Cardano does smart contract, okay? And of course, chain is number 4. Sorry, guys, I have this all backwards. 1 is blockchain, 2 is cryptocurrency, 3 should have been smart contract, my apologies, and 4 is Oracle on the lower right-hand side. This is what happens when you create everything original. Sometimes you forget. So in any case, so where it says 3 is the last piece, Oracle. So as I said, Chainlink is an Oracle, okay? So hopefully you understood. Let's keep going. Now, I keep talking about trust and truth. You really have to understand the genesis of how Web 3.0 ultimately gets you to less trust and more truth. So let's start from the history of the internet. In 1969, all the way to the left, ARPANET. What the heck is ARPANET? It's an acronym created by the US government to be able to connect government computers and some research and development that were happening at various universities. So they wanted to talk to each other, computer to computer. This is before the internet days. And they were successful. They were successful. First 4 locations were connected. UCLA, Stanford, Santa Barbara, and University of Utah were connected. Very first time they logged in, the other side where they logged in, they tried to log in, the word login came up and it crashed and it was just LO. So we're going back to 1969 here, guys. But anyhow, it matured and continued all the way up to 1994. And that's what Web 1.0 is. That's the beginning of the internet that started it all in 1994, that allowed us to have things like Yahoo and AOL and Google, where we could just go under Web 1.0 and consume information, just read. We couldn't interact. If you remember the old Netscape and all of those things that you'd use, you could go read some articles and things like that, but you couldn't type anything in, and that was it, all right? You couldn't tell it to do anything. Whatever the publisher posted, that's all you did under Web 1.0. Then came Web 2.0 from 2004, still continues, where because of the internet got faster and everything, we were able to create a lot of creative content that interacted with us, okay? Such as YouTube, such as Facebook, such as what I'm recording right now is part of Web 2.0. Twitter, banks, all of these part of 2.0. So we are living right now in Web 2.0, and we are beginning the journey into Web 3, which really started back in 2008 because of the blockchain. But Web3, the realization of that is going to take decades. And that's why Chainlink is important. And Chainlink fits into Web3 and beyond. So Web3 started in 2008. And that is all about, again, Gavin Woods said, secure social operating system. That's what he said about Web3. It is a secure social operating system. It is a place where if X is true, then execute Y. Again, back to smart contract. I hope you're with me. There's a lot of stuff here, but it's fundamental stuff. I'm going to keep moving fast. All the way to the end is Web 3.0, the realization of that. And when we ultimately get there, guys, in few years, 5 years or so, that's where you're going to have smart contracts, you're going to have oracles, less middlemen, a lot of DeFis, asset management, rights, and all of that will take place, okay? Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. This is a quadrant chart. And if you look at lower left-hand quadrant, that means all paper-based, no trust. Those are the fake apps, fake news, outright scams. They live in that quadrant. On the upper left-hand side, you get closer to truth, but you have to trust the centralized banks and facilities and entities, such as Lehman Brothers, such as traditional Enron. Remember Enron? These are all centralized, paper-based. That's where they are. Look at lower right-hand side. That's where we live today. Bank of America, Wells Fargo. If you look at cryptography, so it's more secure. But I don't know about the truth because it's all centralized. That's why you can't trust them because it's all centralized, it's all hackable and all of that. So now looking up on the upper right-hand side, as you go up from Web 2.0 where we are, even the banks are there, all the way to Web 3, you begin to utilize cryptography, you begin to utilize Oracle, you begin to utilize Chainlink, and you ultimately get to Web 3.0, where things are decentralized. Things are not hackable because they're decentralized. Bank of America today can be hacked because it's centralized, okay? I hope that makes sense. Let's keep visualization of what a centralized transaction looks like. If I want to send money, I'm Bob, send money to Alice, which is on the top. I need to be able to go through a bank, and that bank will make sure Bob's money goes to Alice. But you have to trust the bank. They could steal my money. So that's why, look at the bottom. That's the Web 3.0 world. That's where you don't need the bank. In the middle is the blockchain, be it Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum blockchain, what have you. You've got the blockchain in the middle. So Bob wants to send money. He's got an electronic wallet into the blockchain, sends the money to Alice. No middleman, hardly any fees. So that's what the beauty of that is. All right, I've already covered all of these things. I wanted to put this in here, the problem on top and the solution in the bottom. And in the middle, in the bottom middle, are all the blockchains. To the left are all these computers, which are really Chainlink nodes that are consuming all sorts of input from the left. And then to the right are all the computers that get the appropriate displays of that information from the blockchain. So that's a visualization of this concept. Hopefully, I'm making some sense. My apologies for making it too complex. All right, don't need to understand this. But if you really unpack Chainlink, how does Chainlink work? So let's take as an example, all the way to the top. You've got all the different exchanges. This is one use case. You got Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, Uniswap, and Sushi. Number one, price aggregators. Hopefully you use CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. These are places you go to look up price of Bitcoin, price of Ethereum. That's item one. But you go there, but you have to trust CoinMarket to say that's the correct answer. Or CoinGecko says that's the correct answer. You have to trust them. That's centralized. So now what the Chainlink people have done, they've introduced level 2, Chainlink node operators. And these are different companies that actually put up money, and then they will read minimum 3 inputs. In one example, let's say T-System will read information about Bitcoin price from CoinMarket, CoinGecko, and CryptoCompare. And then take the mean of that data and store it. And they put money against it saying, I have done that. If I made a mistake, you can take my money, Chainlink. So there's monetary incentive for you to be truthful. Money talks and everything else walks. So in this example on level 2, these are all node operators. They put hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake for their reputation. They don't want their reputation damaged. And the reason they do that is every time they provide the data, they get more link tokens from Chainlink. So there's a reward system here. And ultimately, level 3 that you're looking at, you could be running some application on Ethereum, you could be running some application on Solana, and that's reading all that information. All right, let's move on. This is getting awfully long. So with the advent of Chainlink, Chainlink is taking all the real world asset on the left-hand side, be it money, be it stocks, be it commodity, and it is tokenizing in the middle and providing that information to the right, to the DeFi world. And that's what's happening, guys. You can buy anything 24/7, 365 under this model. Stocks are getting tokenized. Real estate is going to get tokenized. Anything you can think of is getting tokenized, and it will be run through Chainlink. $200 to $300 trillion of addressable market that Chainlink is playing in. Keep that in mind. This is the very last slide, guys. Very busy. Not going to explain too much other than if you look at from bottom all the way up. All the way in the bottom are people like you and me using application to get information. Second to the bottom are all the different blockchains. Third to the bottom are all the Chainlink related services that provide the data that it's getting all the way from the top, okay? You can take a look at it, pause it, zoom in, and try to understand it, but try to give you the complexity that's involved in Chainlink. So price predictions, all right, this is all about Chainlink price predictions from 2025, and I've taken it all the way to 2030, and let me explain what the drivers are. Right off the bat, you can see the current price is $40 right there. And all the way to 2030, I have it gone all the way to $990. Well, how the heck did I get there is the question. And I'm going to use some assumptions, but mostly fundamentals and actual real numbers. So let's get started here. There's about 1 billion total supply of tokens. And that's really what's going to drive this conversation, because out of that, 678 million are right now in current circulation. So what drives Chainlink is really the number of nodes. Number of nodes you can think of them as validators, but these are the guys that make a lot of reward money, and they are interested in making sure the Oracle functions fine. So let's start today in 2025. In 2025, there's only 90 oracles, or there are 90 nodes that are clearing houses of all the data, okay? That is going to be a very important driver for us to calculate the price of Link. And what you need to keep in mind, for every one of these oracles, they go online, they have to lock up minimum 50,000 links, all the way up to 100,000 plus links. And they're going to stake it and they're going to lock it as an insurance against not lying, okay? So now, obviously in 2025, it's going to be more than 90. We're only in July. So given that, I've given the price at the end of 2025 to 40, okay? That's about 100% rise, very doable. It was just 22, 23 the other day. It could be even much higher than that. But from there, I become a little conservative and yet aggressive in terms of where we are in 2026. So if you look at this, in terms of the number of nodes that I'm expecting, is 1,500 nodes that are going to come online by 2026. And when you do that, you have to then multiply that by 50,000. You get 75 million tokens that are going to come off circulation and get locked up, okay? Are you with me so far? And then let's assume another 50 million will just be bought and held by retailers and institutions, all of that. When you start adding all of that up, you get about 125 million that have just gone off the circulation. And then at the same time, you see the 10 million right here? That 10 million right here is right here where my cursor is. The 10 million is released into the wild. Now keep in mind, there is about 322 million right now that are locked. So I assume that dilution is taking place every year. Okay, with all of that, you will see the token that gets locked up gets released and lowered by 312 million. So then the total circulation left is 563 million that's left in here. How do I get that? You have to add all of these numbers up and deduct, and you get to 563 million tokens that are left in circulation. And if you do that, then your math takes you to about $47 per share. But then as the supply keeps going down, and given it's 2026, the FOMO will kick in. So I have a FOMO factor. And I said, because of the FOMO, fear of missing out, the price will appreciate another 150%. That's really nothing in the crypto world in one whole year. So if you do that, then you get to $117 for 2026. So I use the same logic for 2027. I assume 5,000 nodes are going to come online. And that's how you get to 507. And the FOMO is 200%. In 2028, 7,500 nodes are coming. Guys, you have to remember, 7,500 nodes is nothing because we are talking about securing and authenticating and creating trust of about $300 trillion of assets that have to be oracleized, if you would. So given that, and I lowered this FOMO by 25% because by 2028, maybe it reaches a steady state. So now the price is 633. 2029, same thing, go up to 10,000. And given that, you get 792 and only 25% FOMO factor. 2030, 15,000 nodes and 25% right here is the FOMO factor that gets you to 990. So that's really how I got to all of these numbers. These are exciting numbers. I think they're quite achievable and doable. I definitely think 507 is very doable, maybe even before 2027. This is just my price predictions, not financial advice for you. Chainlink is ultimately leg in terms of Web 3.0 realization. It is the oracle. So you've got your blockchain, you got your cryptography or cryptocurrency, then you got your oracle, and of course, all of these things bring in blockchain, cryptography, security, and you get to the point where you don't have to trust anyone because you can accept the truth because it's all being done by Chainlink. And that's what this journey was all about and created by Satoshi Nakamoto with respect to the Bitcoin white paper, which really opened up all of these things. There are 18 million tokens out there. Before you know it, it's going to be down to hundreds. And Chainlink will be the only one left because they are the only one as it comes to Oracle. So guys, I really appreciate all the time you've given me. Thank you for this and hope to see you soon. Hopefully you understood what I had to say. Give me some comment, thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. See you next time. Take care.